Albert Einstein once said, "The only source of knowledge is experience." This is especially true with relationships. If you're looking for the best relationship advice you'll ever need in life, all you need to do is ask those who've been in relationships through the test of time. Luckily for you, we have done the research and compiled a list of best relationship advice you can get from married and unmarried couples who's been together for well over a decade. Keep in mind, what you do with this advice is what ultimately will determine the effectiveness of the advice offered in this video. Let's get started. Number 1. A healthy relationship requires two healthy people. In a relationship, everyone talks about sacrifices. You are expected to maintain the relationship by consistently sacrificing yourself for your partner and their wants and needs. In any relationship, each individual must intentionally choose to give up something on occasions. The issue arises when the satisfaction of the relationship is entirely dependent on the other person, and both individuals are constantly sacrificing. A partnership built on continuous and equal sacrifices will not last and will eventually harm both parties. A healthy and happy relationship demands the presence of two healthy and happy people. Individuals is the key term here. That implies two individuals having their own identities, interests, and views, as well as things they do through their own time. This is why trying to manipulate your spouse, or relinquishing power over yourself to your relationship, to make them happy always backfires. It destroys the unique personalities of each person, the same personalities that drew them together in the first place. This leads to our next advice. Offer each other in the relationship their own space. People loves the idea of self-identity. Having separate checking accounts, separate credit cards, and different friendships allows the individuals in the relationship a sense of ownership of their own life. This allows them to be themselves and have a sense of security. Some individuals are frightened to offer their spouse independence and control. This stems from a lack of trust or fear that if we give our spouse too much space, they may decide they no longer want to be with us. In fact, the more we feel insecure with our own worth in the relationship, the more we will want to regulate our partner's behaviors. More importantly, our unwillingness to accept our spouses for who they are is a subtle kind of contempt. After all, if you feel that a few of after-work drinks will be enough to keep your spouse away from you, you definitely don't have a high opinion of yourself. The insecurities can be removed if you follow our number 3 advice. Be together for the right reasons. Everything that makes a relationship work demands a real, deep level appreciation for each other. Everything else will fall apart unless there is equal appreciation. Getting together for the wrong reasons like pressure from family and friends, feeling like a loser if you don't have a partner, and being together because of status or image. This urge to misuse someone else's affection to alleviate your own emotional difficulties simply leads to clinginess, an unhealthy and harmful relationship between two people in which there is an unspoken agreement to use each other's love as a diversion from one's own self-loathing. We'll talk more about codependence later, but for now, it's important to remember that love is a neutral emotion. It's something that may be both good and bad, beneficial or detrimental, depending on why and how you love and are loved by others. Love isn't enough to keep a relationship going on its own. Number 4. Have realistic expectations from your relationship and romance. Blind love is a masquerade to convince two individuals to ignore each other's flaws long enough to have a family. It usually only lasts a few years at most. That euphoric high you get from looking into your lover's eyes as if they were the stars that make up the heavens, that fades away rather quickly. You need to know that after it's gone, you've shackled yourself to a human being you like. If you got into a long-term relationship without thoroughly thinking about what possible outcomes you may experience, then your relationship will possibly lead to a path of regret and misery. So before you expect anything substantial from your relationship, you have to know how you got into it in the first place, and what you both can offer to sustain and thrive in this relationship long-term. It isn't so much the outcome than it is the journey it takes for the two to get there. In order to experience a long-lasting, thriving relationship with your partner, communication isn't the most important factor. Number 5. Respect for each other is the most important ingredient to any thriving relationships. People who have gone through divorces nearly always agree that communication was the most crucial factor in getting things back on track. It's important to communicate often. Allow yourself to speak freely. Although there is some truth to this, lack of communication stems from the lack of respect these divorced couples had for each other. You'll start to mistrust each other's motives if you don't have that foundation of respect. You'll pass judgment on your partner's decisions and infringe on their privacy. You'll feel compelled to keep things hidden from one another for fear of being judged. And it is at this point that the foundation begins to fracture. It's also important to respect yourself, because if you don't respect yourself, you won't accept your partner's respect, and will look for methods to undermine it. You'll feel compelled to compensate and prove your worthiness for love all of the time, which will only backfire. Number 6. Be open and communicative with your partner. You must be willing to speak out if something in the relationship troubles you. Doing so develops trust, which in turn fosters closeness. You must do it even if it hurts, because nobody can heal your relationship for you. In the same way that providing pain to your muscles makes them stronger, putting some pain into your relationship through openness strengthens it. Those nasty, insecure things you don't want to share with others? They should be shared with your spouse. This is not only therapeutic, but it is also necessary for you and your spouse to have a clear knowledge of one another's fears, and how you choose to compensate for them. Learn to tell the difference between your partner's questionable conduct and your own anxieties, and vice versa. This is a difficult one that will almost certainly involve confrontation. However, in most relationship conflicts, one partner believes something is perfectly normal, while the other believes it is really messed up. Number 7. Change is inevitable and part of the life of all relationships. Growing is part of life, and if you're not growing, you're dying. Growing in a relationship means changes will happen, and it's absolutely normal. How you and your partner adapts to the changes is what matters. So embrace it. Embracing the changes in the relationship is allowing room for a foundation of respect for each people's interests, beliefs, and each individual is encouraged to promote their own growth and development. Each person will change in unique and surprising ways over time. And growing with each other makes a long-lasting relationship. Number 8. Learn to forgive your partner. When two people share a life together, it's natural that they'll have opposing beliefs and opinions on some issues, causing them to fight. The trick here is to just accept the differences, love them despite it, and when things get a bit rough around the edges, remember that the desire to alter your spouse is fundamentally disrespectful. When your companion makes a mistake, you must distinguish between their intentions and their actions. You identify the qualities in your spouse that you respect and realize that he or she was merely trying the best they could but messed up due to simple ignorance. Your ideal spouse isn't someone who doesn't have any issues. Rather, your ideal spouse has issues with which you are comfortable addressing. Number 9. The little things can add up and become bigger things. It doesn't matter if the thing is petty or insignificant, the little things tend to add up in the end. Simple I love yous can change the mood for the other person entirely. Sometimes all we really need is just someone who supports us even when we are at our ugliest moments. It's these little things we do for our partners that can make the world of difference. Number 10. Learn to ride the roller coaster of ups and downs. The journey through a happy relationship isn't always a smooth road. Human errors are common and inevitable. Relationships is one of those things that cannot go unscathed by this. It is the lows in the relationships that makes all the highs that much pleasurable. Just remember that nothing is perfect and bad moments will come and go like the good moments in life. Just learn to cherish these moments while you still can before it's gone forever. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our channel.